Eggsy, I saw in you what someone once saw in me. Something that can't be taught. The makings of a Kingsman. Being a Kingsman is more than the clothing we wear, or the weapons we bear. It's about being willing to sacrifice for the greater good. I hope you're ready for what comes next. And love for what is a man? What has he got? If not himself, then he has not. The record shows I took the road and did it my way. Oh my God.
Why is Colin Firth back in this movie? We don't know, and that's pretty much the whole idea of this movie. We don't know, because, yeah, this ain't the first movie, that's for damn certain. But, welcome to Time About the Movies, everybody. It's a packed weekend on September 22nd, 2017. We have two movies that were released in February in 2014 and 2015 that have new films out. One was really good, the other, not so much. And then we have a couple of other movies in particular. But we're starting off with the biggest of the new releases, which is Kingsman: The Golden Circle. This is, of course, a sequel to Kingsman: The Secret Service. And when the Kingsman headquarters are destroyed and the world is held hostage, their journey leads them to the discovery of an allied spy organization in the U.S. called Statesman, dating back to the date they were both founded. In a new adventure that tests the agent's strength and wits to their limits, the two elite secret organizations band together to defeat a ruthless common enemy in order to save the world, something that has become a bit of a habit for Eggsy. And like I said, the first Kingsman movie was a refreshing change of pace. It was a great homage to classic 60s style spy films, with a great cast mixed in and with seasoned vets and great newcomers like Taron Egerton. Great direction, a well-written script, a lot of good action, both amazing and over the top, great self-referential humor. It was just a lot of fun. Kingsman: The Golden Circle is your typical lackluster sequel that is, for the most part, a retread of the original movie again. Yes, it's one of those here we go again sequels. And boy, what a disappointment this was from Matthew Vaughn, who, at this time, it felt like he could do no wrong with Kick-Ass and this movie. But now we're kind of seeing that those movies were kind of like lucky breaks for him, because ever since then, he has not been the same person since then. And this is definitely a movie where, you would think there would be some more quality control, and much like with another movie we'll take a look at, you do get that with this, but it's much less this time around. Where the film still works is in the stylized action sequences. You saw it a little bit in the trailer, but the first 10 minutes of the movie won me early on. I mean, that excellent car chase with Princess Let's Get Crazy playing in the background, that's what made these movies work so well, with these stylized action sequences. And even the final action climax at the end was also really good, too. Unfortunately, there is stuff in between the original and the opening and the ending of the movie. Everything that falls in the 100 minutes between the first 10 minutes and the last 30 minutes are lackluster, to say the least. I mean, where do you even begin? Well, let's start off with the fact that, once again, it's just the first movie all over again. It's a bland, forgettable story. What's the conflict in the first movie? A SIM card given to people turns them into murderers and killers, causing them to go murderously violent, and the heroes have to stop them. What's the conflict in the second movie? People have taken drugs that have been infected with a laced chemical which causes users to, at the first stage, develop blue rashes before progressing through mania, and then paralysis and ultimately death. It's basically another we have to save the world from people dying again, albeit with changes, to make it look like it's different, but it's really not. It really is not that different. Now, the one thing that does work, that they add into this here, is the Statesman. The Statesman was one of the few things that I wanted to see more of in this movie. Channing Tatum shows up in here, and you can tell he's having the time of his life in this, but then they just drop him after a bit after he spends most of the film in essentially a coma. I wanted to see more of these characters. You also have Halle Berry, Jeff Bridges, and the hope was that maybe that we can get a spin-off with these characters, but no spin-off was ever made. They really don't do a whole lot of them in this, and it's just like, why do you even have here if you're not going to do anything with them? Elton John actually has a really fun, surprising role in this. He actually has more of a substantial plot in this film than you expect, and he does have a lot of the film's funnier moments. He has an over-the-top role here, but it's one of the few things that did keep this movie afloat. And then you have to go back to the bad stuff with Julianne Moore. Julianne Moore is the villain. This is... My God, man. I didn't think we'd ever have a villainous role that was as cringeworthy as Jar Jar Lex Luthor in Batman v Superman, but let me tell you, Julianne Moore came pretty damn close. I hated her in this movie. She was not threatening at all. Her overall continuously happy persona should be creepy, and it's not. It's not. There's nothing threatening about her whatsoever. And just the fact that they had this character written to just smile and be creepy, that's not a trait. That's not something that makes you villainous. It makes you look like a freaking creeper. She just comes off as completely misguided and non-threatening at all. And once again, it proves the point that not every actor out there can play the villain role and make it work. Sophia Boutella was great at that in the first Kingsman movie. I always go back to Eva Green in 300 Rise of an Empire. There are people who can do this. Not every woman out there can play a villainous role because we've seen it far too many times. They're not very good at it. And Kingsman: The Golden Circle is the reason why I don't get excited for sequels now, because all I get in return is just a botched, half-assed attempt to try to recreate the magic of the first film. But it just doesn't work. The action sequences are still really strong, but everything else just doesn't work. I was bored watching this movie. It's just a dull misfire of a sequel, and I would expect the same team who made the first movie to not give us a half-assed follow-up like this. Now, to its credit, the next one they did, The Kingsman, which was the prequel, was actually a whole lot better. It was actually much more... It was well done. There was actually a lot more to it that original creative-wise than there was in this movie. Still wasn't as good as the first movie, but it was still better than this garbage. I usually don't like the line from critics where they always say, well, if we knew that this was going to be the result from the first film, why wouldn't have liked the first movie? But honestly, that's how I honestly felt about this movie. If I had known that the success would lead to such a misguided mess of a sequel like this, I probably wouldn't have liked it all that much. And yeah, I still like the first movie, but this is a major, major misfire of a film. This is awful, man. Oh my God, what a mess. So there you go. That's Kingsman: The Golden Circle. So let's go ahead and move on to our next movie, the other big new release of the weekend, and that's the third Lego film from Warner Brothers, and that is the Lego Ninjago movie.
Are you ready to risk your life for Ninjago?
Yes, I am on it.
Yep.
Maybe.
You ready for me to conquer Ninjago?
Oh, I'll be waiting.
Dad. Lloyd?
It's Lloyd, your son.
No, L-L-O-Y-D. I named you.
You ruined my life.
That's not true. I haven't even been a part of your life. How could I ruin it?
Baby, now we got bad love. You know it used to be bad love. So take out what you
Garmadon!
It's okay. Nobody's parents are perfect.
My mom collects seashells. Your dad attacks innocent people. So, they've all got their quirks.
The Lego Ninjago movie.
Hello?
Who is this?
Your son?
I must have butt dialed you.
Experience it in IMAX. This film is not yet rated.
Now, see, Kingsman, that's what you should have done. You should have had a hook like that. Like the idea that one of the main heroes is the father is the main bad guy, and there's this father-son dynamic that goes throughout the course of the film. That's something that should have sold Kingsman more. That hook there, and that the Lego Ninjago movie does that. But unfortunately, it doesn't do it as well as its predecessors do. But does that make it a bad movie? Let's talk about it. 6 young ninjas, Lloyd, Jay, Kai, Cole, Zane, and Naya, are tasked with defending their island home called Ninjago. By night, they're gifted warriors using their skill and awesome fleet of vehicles to fight villains and monsters. By day, they're ordinary teenagers struggling around their greatest enemy, high school. And really, that second half there's not even a main factor in the movie here, but it's no surprise that I have been a fan of the Lego movies. I've talked about all of them, how much I've really enjoyed them. I really love Lego Movie. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. I love the Lego Batman movie. So naturally, I was excited for this movie, which leads me to unfortunately admit that as much as I did enjoy this movie, you could definitely tell the wear was finally beginning to show for this movie. There were a lot of people that were saying that this was the weakest of the Lego films, but with that said, I still did really like it a lot, and I tend to agree with them when they say that. But there is still those little bits of originality and creativity here that you could definitely see the formulaic problems beginning to unfold here. Let's start with the stuff I like. I like the animation. The animation in this is still pretty awesome to look at. And I'll give them credit to the animation for looking more crisper and sharper than it did in the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movies. And those had good animation to it. But like here, you can see how sharper the eyes and lips look on some of the characters. The overall animation is still really good. The comedy can still work very well. There's still a lot of those great pop culture references all throughout the film, and all the stuff with that live-action cat taking a little out the city the way it does got the strongest laughs out of me. And it's literally a literal live-action cat. Like, I have a cat that literally is that same breed. So, I don't know. Maybe it was just because I could see my cat doing that, and that made me laugh so hard, but I can't help it, man. That was the funniest thing about that scene in particular. Those scenes in particular. And going back to the animation, the blending of the CG animation with the live-action cat really is well done. You can still see a lot of the effort being put into these films. There is still a lot of good emotional stuff, too, albeit it's a little more cliche and predictable this time around, but, I mean, it still works overall. Like I said, I do like that dynamic of, having the father being the villain and one of the sons is one of the heroes. Like, that's a really good dynamic you can play with. But then, as I said, the wheels slowly start to come off the car a little bit here. The voice cast overall is still really good. You got Dave Franco, Kamal Nanjiani, Abby Jacobson, Fred Armisen, Jackie Chan, and Olivia Munn. They're great in here, but the two real highlights that offer up the most laughs, Zach Woods playing Zane, the robotic ninja. Every time he was on screen, I was laughing my ass off with him. And Justin Theroux, who really is the highlight of this movie as Lord Garmadon. He is great. That performance he does in this movie is hilarious to watch, given this incredibly over-the-top performance that gives the movie a lot of its best moments of humor. Like my favorite scene in that trailer was when he goes like Lloyd, and the kid and Lloyd's just like, no, it's Lloyd, your son, and he's just like, no, Lloyd, I named you. Like he is so. He's so full of himself because he's the bad guy, and I love that. The animation on him alone, again, the animation is just so good in this. The red eyes on him lead to a lot of the reasons why the character gets a lot of laughs. Like, I love the idea that he cries fire. He literally, his literal tears are fire, and he keeps the movie from completely falling apart. But with that said, the story is pretty bland and forgettable. It's very cliched riddle too. You can pretty much predict everything that's going to happen, and these movies have usually been really good at kind of defying your expectations and throwing in these little twists and turns that you don't see coming, changing the overall complexion of the film. And sadly, this one doesn't do it very well. That's really the biggest flaw of the movie, is that it plays it too safe, like too close to normal with both the Lego movie and the Lego Batman movie. They weren't afraid to stretch the boundaries and go for something more deeper. Like, it really felt like Warner Brothers came in on them with this third film and basically said, hey, we know you made two very successful movies, but we need to come in and do some creative control in this movie here, man, because we need to sell this. We need to sell this to the audience, man, because nobody really cares about Lego Ninjago. Which is not true, because Lego Ninjago has had a long fan base for the longest time. Even though I'm not a big fan of it overall, I at least know what the franchise is about. But yeah, the movie plays it way too safe. It also felt really short for some reason. Even at 101 minutes, it's still the same runtime as the previous movies, but it felt like it was a breeze this time around. Everything was just moving way too fast for its own good, without letting it take a break to fully appreciate what you're seeing. But really, the biggest problem with this film is the film's overall message and purpose. It is pretty muddled and dull, especially coming from the last two movies. What was the overall message of the Lego movie? You don't have to be the bad guy. Appreciate the creativity there is in the world. What was the overall message of the Lego Batman movie? Be open to change. Allow more friends and family to come into your life more often. What's the message in the Lego Ninjago movie? Green means life, which brings everybody together. Lame. I mean, really, it's bad enough you're playing the father-son storyline as cliched as you can, but then that's the overall message you come up with? Really? Not to mention, the live-action bookends this time around are extremely pointless. I mean, extremely pointless. They really felt like they threw this in there because they had to have Jackie Chan be Jackie Chan, which he's the sensei in this movie. He doesn't need to be the live-action. He doesn't need his live-action portrayal in this movie overall. It has no purpose to the story whatsoever. It never plays into the rest of the film. It just feels absolutely pointless. And once again, just throws a random life lesson in the end so the kids have something they can take away from this. And again, the morals of this movie is just something that should be pointed out with the Lego Ninjago movie is that they started developing this movie just months after the Lego movie came out. So they had 4 years 4 years to fully develop this and actually make it with as much quality as the Lego movie, and yet they couldn't do it. But the kicker is, the Lego Batman movie, the far better spin-off film, was developed just after the Lego movie came out, and they only had, there we go, 2.5 years. How you like that? How you like that? That's my way of saying 2.5 years. 2.5 years from the time it was announced to when it got released to make it work, and it did. That movie took less time to make than this one, and it was the better overall movie. So this just goes to show you that you could still make a movie within a small amount of time, but as long as you have people who are fully game and trying to make it as good as it can be, like, it could still be good. And this definitely felt like a very lackluster film compared to the other movies, but there are still things I really like about it. The animation is still great, the comedy still works, the voice work is still great, but other than that, it's pretty bland and forgettable. This is the movie everybody was afraid of when those Lego movies first began, you know. Some creativity overall, but it's just basically a ploy to sell toys. I mean, for God's sakes, you could still buy Legos everywhere. I mean, there's places where they have stores dedicated to Legos, not just in Disney World, but there's malls that have Lego stores dedicated to them. There's one at Ross Park Mall where I was recently with the Disney store. They have a Lego store in there. Yeah, that's the reason why they did. This movie feels like the reason why they made it, because, hey, we gotta sell all these toys here. It's a good movie, but far from what it should have been up to this point. It felt like there was a lot of empty calories missing from this movie, if you will. A lot was left on the table with this particular film. I didn't hate it, but I didn't even hate it, really. I liked it, but you felt like there could have been so much more, considering what had just come beforehand, so. But yeah, you could definitely tell that the novelty of the Lego films were kind of fading out here a little bit, and that's why they kind of waited to do the Lego Movie 2 a couple years later, but even then, that might have been a little bit too late. But we'll get to that one in 2019, so there you go. That's the Lego Ninjago movie. Those were the two big new releases, Kingsman and Lego Ninjago movie, that everyone was going to see. Everything else, just pushed off to the side. Case in point with our first film, Friend Request.
Rated R. Only in theaters September 27th.
You don't even need Facebook for this movie to be a horror film. That could be real life with somebody that you are always around, and it's just like they want to be your friend. And just like, dude, I do not want to be friends with you, man. I don't mind you being around me, but do not pull whatever you're trying to do, like this lady, like what's happening to this lady here. Or else I'll call the cops on you. But okay, maybe that doesn't happen in real life, but you get the whole idea here. Like, who needs social media? This could be a real life. This could be a real life horror film without the social media. But interesting premise, but what do you think with a movie like this? A movie that doesn't have a whole lot of attention to it, doesn't even have a major studio backing it up overall. In fact, honestly, I thought this was the BuzzFeed-produced horror film, but no, this is not produced by BuzzFeed. They did produce a horror film later on down the road, but this isn't it. This actually, I believe, came from Germany, if I'm not mistaken. But popular college student Laura has tons of friends, both on Facebook and in real life. She graciously accepts social outcast Marina's online friend requests, until Marina crosses the line and Laura unfriends her. To everyone's shock, Marina takes her own life in a ritual meant to torment Laura, who appears in a video posted on Laura's profile. Which, in any other case, that video would have been taken down almost immediately. But this was before, we had stricter rules on social media, so of course it's still up there. Even though it wasn't Laura who posted the video or other creepy content that begins appearing on her page, her Facebook friend count begins to dwindle as a result. When her real-life friends start dying mysteriously cruel deaths, Laura must figure out how to break the deadly curse before it's too late. So yeah, I think you can kind of see the problem with this movie. It's white people problems, except the problems involve a lot of murder. Yeah, the whole thread of this movie is, oh no, my friend list is going down, ooh. Yeah, that's not scary at all, and truth be told, there is some creepy elements to the film in some of the shots in this, but other than that, though, this movie is lame. I mean, it's bad enough that this thing is called Unfriend, but it's not called that here in the States because there was a much better movie called Unfriended that came out 2 years prior, and yeah, that movie was a lot better and actually did something very creative with a horror film mixed in with social media. This does not. It takes the idea of that instead brings us a bland, generic horror film. What with a couple of creepy scenes? I'm not gonna lie. That scene at the end where she's creepy, where the creepy chick is behind her, like that got me the first time. Just like, jeez, like. But other than that, though, yeah, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to say that this is a good movie or not. This is a good movie. This is a bad film. It's a lazy film. It's not inventive at all. And again, it's just white people problems. Except this time the problems involve a ton of murders. Like again, oh no, my friends are going downhill on Facebook. What am I gonna do? Get outside and go talk to some real people. There, I solved your problem. Now let's tackle something heavier like world hunger. But I digress. Let's go ahead and move on to our next movie. Certainly a much better movie than Friend Request. Jake Gyllenhaal in Stronger.
Critics are raving about Stronger.
What are you doing?
Talking to you. What are you doing?
Dancing.
It's a powerful, soul-cleansing film that makes life better for having seen it.
I'm gonna walk with you again someday.
Jake Gyllenhaal shines in his finest performance. He's riveting and Oscar-worthy. Jake Gyllenhaal triumphs, raves Rolling Stone. And now it's been certified fresh with one of the highest Rotten Tomatoes scores of the fall. Stronger, rated R, now played.
Insert your either Kanye West or Britney Spears Stronger song in there. I don't really feel like doing that right now, but this is the second movie based off of the Boston Marathon bombings. We had Patriots Day the year before, which was a good movie overall, and again, this is a really good film. One that, it was one of those movies where you're starting to see kind of the trend with these more adult movies that don't get the big Oscar push overall, getting pushed off to the side of the box office. They do very well with critics, but they're largely forgotten almost immediately after they come out. And sadly, this is definitely one that was forgotten almost immediately after it came out. But it's a good movie, like I said. It's based on the story. It's based on the memoir by Jeff Bauman, who the centerpiece of the story is, played by Jake Gyllenhaal, who loses both of his legs in the Boston Marathon bombings and must adjust to his new life. And one of the things I was really worried about going into this particular film was that, okay, how much of this is going to fall into Oscar baitish territory here? And surprisingly, it doesn't do that. And that's what I really like about this movie overall. The movie is essentially it's a character study of this guy. You know, he's living a good life until this marathon bombing happens, and you know, he loses both of his legs, and you know, he doesn't know what to do with his life overall. And I think the film does a very good job of giving you a film that is very unlike something you've seen done before. This is directed by David Gordon Green, who of course gave us Pineapple Express. He's also made Our Brand Is Crisis, Joe. He's made a lot of good movies, but this is just before he kind of fell back down the slope here with stuff like Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends starting next year. But it shows you that this guy is a very good director, and he has a good idea for what he wants to tell the story on here. He's got a great cast around him. Tatiana Maslany from Orphan Black gets a chance to shine in this movie, really showing her acting chops. Miranda Richardson's really good in this movie, so is Clancy Brown, Frankie Shaw, Lenny Clark, Jessica Lundy. And again, it's a really good movie that stays away from the inspirational sports movie cliches and actually focuses on making ways to make this stand out over those type of films. And I think it does very well, largely solely on the performance by Jake Gyllenhaal, which really is a bummer that this movie didn't do so well, because this is probably one of his best overall performances he's ever given. And most people have never really seen this movie before, and that really sucks, because you could tell that this guy was putting his heart and soul into his performance, thinking that he was going to do something that was maybe going to get him some awards consideration, and it never really got to that point there. He got a couple of awards, but none of the big ones. No Golden Globes, no Screen Actors Guild, no Critics' Choice, no Oscars, just mediocre stuff in general. Okay, maybe not all of them. Critics' Choice Award, he did get a nomination for that, but he didn't win that one. The Hollywood Film Awards and the Satellite Awards. I mean, okay, those are awards, I guess, but they're not Oscar. That's not the big ones, but I mean, yeah, the movie overall, it could have easily gone down that path of the predictable, bland Oscar bait territory, but it never does that. It's a movie that I think definitely deserves a lot more attention than it actually gets. It's a really good film. It's one I highly recommend checking out if you haven't seen it. Stronger is definitely a very underrated film that's worth checking out. Same can also be said for our last movie that we have here, the latest film from Jonathan Dayton and Valerie Ferris, Emma Stone, and Steve Carell starring as Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs in Battle of the Sexes.
Great idea! Man versus woman.
Are you drunk, Bobby?
Billie Jean King accepted the challenge of Bobby Riggs.
I'm gonna put the show back in chauvinism.
I can really change things.
All the girls can just head back in the kitchen where they belong.
Oh my God.
We're live in 5,
Ring the bell.
3. We're all putting our careers on the line for this. I just want to thank you for your bravery. And your balls.
Battle of the Sexes. Rated PG-13, September 22nd.
As I mentioned, this is the story about the 1973 tennis match between Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs. In the wake of the sexual revolution and the rise of the women's movement, the 1973 tennis match between Jean King and Riggs, played by Emma Stone and Steve Carell, is billed as the Battle of the Sexes and becomes one of the most watched televised sporting events of all time, reaching 90 million viewers around the world. As the rivalry between Kings and Riggs kicks into high gear, off-court each with fighting its more personal and complex battles, the fiercely private King was not only championing for equality, but also struggling to come to terms with her own sexuality, as her friendship with Marilyn Barnett, played by Andrea Riesenberg from Birdman, developed. And Riggs, one of the first self-made media-age celebrities, wrestling with his gambling demons at the expense of his family and his wife Priscilla, played by Elizabeth Shue. Together, Billy and Bobby serve up a cultural spectacle that resonated far beyond the tennis court, sparking discussions in bedrooms. And when these two make a new movie, I'm always there. They directed one of my favorite movies of all time, Little Miss Sunshine, and they directed one of my favorite movies from 2012, Ruby Sparks. And I was really looking forward to this. Not to mention, you got a script written by Simon Beaufoy, who also did Slumdog Millionaire, Everest, and The Hunger Games: Catching Fire, and a cast led by Steve Carell and Emma Stone. Emma Stone coming off of her big Oscar win for La La Land the year before. And you could just pretty much call it a day. I'm giving this a good review, and sure enough, this is a good review. This movie is really fantastic. Steve Carell does such a good job channeling Bobby Riggs with a great performance that's both hilarious and also deep, and Emma Stone once again knocks it out of the park playing Billie Jean King, and the movie does a good job of showing the complex and personal situations that these two characters have to face, and like any good sports movie, you do get invested so deeply in the characters than what the actual match takes place in. You're hooked. You're actually hooked when the actual match happens. You can't take your eyes off, and you kind of want both of them to win overall. There really isn't a ton of flaws with this film overall. I mean, this is a film that, it's amazing that these two directors really have not done many movies since Little Miss Sunshine. They've only directed a couple, but they usually knock it out of the park, and this one is another one they knock out of the ballpark easily. They don't make a lot of movies often, but when they do, they're usually terrific, and this is a film that is no exception. Great acting all around, great storytelling, great visuals, an excellent, excellent film, and another underrated gem from 2017. If you haven't seen Battle of the Sexes, definitely check it out. It's a really, really good film. And so with that said, we wrap up another episode of Time About the Movies, and guess what, boys and girls? We have another double weekend coming, largely because I didn't do my research before this, and probably should have put American Made and Flatliners into this week's show, but of course I didn't do that, because I thought 5 movies was going to be enough, but maybe the next week would have more than a couple movies worth noting, but other than American Made and Flatliners, I haven't seen Till Death Do Us Part. I didn't even know that movie even existed. Pure Flix has A Question of Faith, which I never saw that one, so I'm not going to cover that. A couple Bollywood movies, so we're gonna do 2 weekends again. And again, I usually don't like to do this because it's the end of the month, and I want to try to keep this September and October separate. Let's go with that. But of course, a situation like this, that's my fault there. But hey. On the positive side, though, like I said, it gets us closer to the end game that I want to get this to. I want to be able to finish this show by the end of the year, and we're on the way to getting there. So we're gonna cover 2 weekends on the next episode. We'll cover the last weekend of September with Tom Cruise and Doug Liman returning once again after their success with Edge of Tomorrow with American Made. We also have the remake of the 1990 classic, which starred Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts, Flatliners, and then on October the 6th, we have a couple of big movies. Depending on what age bracket you are. We have Denis Villeneuve giving us Blade Runner 2049, the sequel to Blade Runner, with Harrison Ford returning once again, and Ryan Gosling joining in on the fun. Idris Elba and Kate Winslet star in The Mountain Between Us, and we also have, for the kids out there, My Little Pony the movie, the feature film adaptation of the My Little Pony Friendship is Magic TV series, so I guess they completely disregard the Equestria Girls films, which also went to theaters, but so they don't even pretend that they exist here. But we'll talk about that, even though this is still around the time when family films open up in October and don't do very well. Lionsgate said, "Well, we're My Little Pony. This could happen." But we'll touch on that tomorrow, as well as take a look at from director Sean Baker, who later gave us Honora, The Florida Project. So we're starting to get some Oscar bait movies here as we get to the Oscar season overall. So that is Yeah, 6 movies. 6 movies overall to take a look at tomorrow for September 29th and October 6th. Just a reminder, American Made, Flatliners, Blade Runner 2049, The Mountain Between Us, My Little Pony the Movie, The Florida Project. I got them all. We're good. So with all that said, thank you so much for watching this, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please go ahead and do me the honors of hitting that like button, that subscribe button, and that notification button. Also, don't forget to check out our playlist, and don't forget to check out the previous episode we did. So with all that said, whether it's in the past, the present, or the future, I will see you at the movies. Take care.